We are thrilled to get started with today's webinar. I'm Wendy Hines with Vision Serve Alliance. And today we have two partners joining us from First Nonprofit. So First Nonprofit has been a valued partner with Vision Serve Alliance since 2013, so quite a long time. And they specialize in providing members several safe alternative unemployment insurance programs. Sorry, that's a mouthful. As well as HR management support, providing professional advice and support to nonprofit organizations across the country with all manner of unemployment and employment issues. So our members, we know this, have saved $423,000 since 2013 working with First Nonprofit. Let me say that again. Our members have saved $423,000 by working with First Nonprofit since 2013. And the savings per member varies between $10,000 and the top is $190,000. That's just a phenomenal amount. So really excited to tell you about this benefit of working with First Nonprofit today, and they're going to tell you more about how you can get involved with them and tap into their expertise. So I'm going to turn things over to Cruz Mendez and Marshall Whitty. So Cruz Mendez, she is the marketing director at First Nonprofit, and she has played a pivotal role with First Nonprofit for over 20 years. She is passionate about supporting the nonprofit sector and dedicated to educating organizations on unemployment, risk, and HR management solutions. Marshall is the regional sales director, and but he has been with First Nonprofit since 2010. He built a strong foundation in sales management, and project management in residential and commercial construction. He holds property and casualty insurance licenses and leverages his extensive industry experience to highlight the value of risk transfer alternatives. All right, so we'll turn it over to these experts. Cruz, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I am going to start sharing my screen here, so you should be able to see our PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to kick things off here by going over our agenda for today. We will be going over different unemployment financing methods because unemployment costs are an unavoidable cost to organization, and we know that they are rising quickly. So we will be providing you stats on that. We will also be going over remote workforce compliance, especially for those organizations out there that have multi-state teams, especially now, with remote work being such a big thing post-COVID. And we will be going over how our services help streamline HR and unemployment processes to help strengthen service delivery at your organizations. And a little bit about who First Nonprofit is. We are a national leader in the industry providing unemployment funding options and savings programs for nonprofits across the country. We currently work with 2,300 nonprofits, and they manage over $22 billion in payroll. Just last year, we were able to save our clients $113 million in just unemployment claims administration savings. We were able to give nearly $13 million back to our members via experience credits or refunds. Those 2,300 nonprofits have 740,000 employees working at their organizations, and on average, we're saving nonprofits 30% on their annual unemployment costs. We have almost 50 national and state partners across the country, including Vision Serve Alliance. And when the employee retention credit offerings were available, we were able to help nonprofits in our programs get back over $14 million in credits. And we have been helping nonprofits in these fields for over 30 years. This is a snapshot of some of the other partners that we work with, including Vision Serve Alliance. We also partner with Prevent Blindness America. But these are some of the nonprofits across nonprofit associations across the country that work with us and endorse our unemployment programs. And our guiding principles. We are here to help save nonprofits money. We're here to protect nonprofits from unexpected expenses by providing insurance programs for their unemployment. And we complement those programs with processes and procedures to assist HR staff. And of course, we have a relentless focus and obsession on delivering for our clients and members so that they can deliver on their mission. And with that, I will hand it off to Marshall.
Thank you, Cruz. I'll be going over how the state system works, the pros and cons to the system. So there's different ways to fund your unemployment. Some of you may be paying into the state tax system. That's where you're paying a SUI tax into the state that you're operating in. The other option is available is called reimbursing. That's where you're reimbursing the state dollar for dollar or self-insured. You may be doing that, or you may be doing it through another program similar to what we'll be talking about or what we offer, or you may not know. Some organizations are unsure. They just send money to the state, not really know how they're funding their unemployment. So we'll go ahead and look at the next slide and see how these things look.
We're running a poll right now. So if you can, you should be a poll that pops up. If you could let us know how you're currently funding your unemployment and just give us an idea of how organizations in the audience are currently funding.
So for those of you that are self-insured, this may be a little bit repetitive or some information you know, but for those that are unsure, there are pros and cons to both options that are available. So when you're paying to the state, you have a fixed annual cost, so there's no risk assigned to you beyond that assigned rate that you're given in the state. So for example, if you're paying in SUI tax to the state of $40,000, that's what your liability is based off of the rate that the state gives you. And if your claims exceed or unemployment claims exceed that $40,000, the state covers that cost over and above it. So there's no cost additive at the end of that. Now, the drawbacks to being in the state fund is solvency levels of the state fund dictate how your rates impact you. So they're also impacted by your experience and the overall experience of the state itself and how the state manages the UI funds. It also pools costs. So one of the challenges of being in the state system is that as a nonprofit, you're pulled in with the for-profits, and sometimes you subsidize the for-profit sector for their high turnaround if you don't have a lot of claims. So that increases your costs based off of the state's experience getting worse, even if your organization hasn't seen an increase in claims. And another big challenge that you have, depending on the state that you're in, is the state is a front-loaded system because it taxes on the taxable wage base. So more often than not, the majority of states, you're paying the majority of your cost in the first 2 quarters. So in that earlier example, if I said your cost was $40,000, the majority of the taxpayers would be paying roughly $32,000 to $36,000 in the first quarter. So the state front loads the system. So those are the negatives of being the state system. Now, self-insuring is another great way of doing it as well. The biggest pro is it's the lowest cost available. So you're just reimbursing the state dollar for dollar for claims as they come in. That is great when times are good or you have very little in the way of claims. It insulates you from the solvency standards that states face. So you're not having to pay into those pooled costs or have increased costs based on the state's solvency levels or tax collections being lower, where they have to raise overall cost. Now, the drawbacks to being out of that, there's no limit to an individual claim, but there's a limit to an individual claimant depending on what state you're on. Each state has a different maximum benefit that is awarded, but there's no limit to the employer potential liability based off of base period claims or the aggregate claims liabilities for all of the former employees. It creates a challenging time as we approach challenging economic times on budgetary side of things, because there's no way really to know what the upcoming year's potential claims are. You may be 1 year budgeting $10,000 and then have 30 or 40 or $50,000 in claims. So gives a high fluctuation in costs. And then you have a loss of certain protest rights, that being former employees, the base period. So again, if Marshall Whitty worked for your organization and I left on my own accord and I went to work for another nonprofit and I was laid off there in the first 3 or 4 months, I may file for unemployment. And then when I file for unemployment, the state will send you a bill to you as a former employer. And you'll say, well, hey, Marshall didn't leave us. Well, on a base period claim, you don't have the right to challenge that. So those are those claims that are challenging to file against or challenge. And then internal audit responsibilities. This is a really big challenge for most employers, especially in times of turmoil, even coming out of COVID. Is auditing your claims. Most employers just look at the individual of what they were collecting or the individual's name. Marshall Whitty, Cruz Mendez worked for your organization, but it's on the employer to audit what the state pays both Marshall Whitty and Cruz Mendez in unemployment. So those are some big challenges that reimbursing employers face. What this slide is for if you're in the state system, so this is a way for those folks that are unsure. You receive these notices from the state every December. Majority of states send them out in December. There are a few states that send them out at different times. Like New Jersey is in July. And Tennessee will be in July as well. But what you're going to receive here is your state notice. So if you receive this, you do know that you're paying into the state fund. And then where you see this area where it says reserve amount, that's the amount that you pay in overall costs into the state. You're paying a tax into it, and that's what the state refers to as your reserve. Now, that's just a calculating factor that the states use in assessing your upcoming rate. On this first one in Louisiana, you see $141,000. Now, as an organization, you may believe that money belongs to you, but it doesn't. It belongs to the state of Louisiana. They use it as a calculating tool for your upcoming rate. So that is an overpayment, if you will, that you're paying into the state fund. So you think, oh, that's my money. Again, it says reserve. You could call the state of Louisiana and say, hey, I have 141,000 in reserves. I don't want to pay next year's taxes. Take it out of the reserve. The state is going to say, no, that's not how that works. That money doesn't belong to you. What that money does, again, is it's a calculating factor, and the state owns it, and they use that balance to help subsidize the for-profit sector for folks that pay more out in claims than they pay in tax. And so you'll see several states here on the right, another reserve balance. So that's another state there that we have an overpayment in Pennsylvania, where someone has 45,000. So they're an additional 45,000 in tax costs that go to the state that the state owns. So an excess cost going to the state. What this slide represents is the average claim per state. Why this is important to see is where we are currently and how claims are. You'll see some states have lower average weekly benefit amounts on the average, but it's important to know that many states are increasing benefits as we speak. And why that's important, as you are paying as an organization. Many organizations, especially coming out of COVID, had difficult times employing or finding enough employees. So you really didn't think about, oh, unemployment's not a big challenge because we can't find employees. But as you're paying those folks, sometimes a lot of organizations are paying overtime. The overall cost that you're paying somebody adds to the average cost of what they can collect because their wages are going to go up. And durations, what that duration means is how average in each given state, the average duration of claims. We are seeing currently, even though economically we're not seeing in the news a lot, that unemployment is on a significant rise, but we are seeing in the nonprofit sector, depending Again, on each individual organization, their durations are growing in the nonprofit sector based on the challenges coming out of DC. Overpayment rate. This is the next challenge that you have as a reimbursing employer. As I mentioned earlier, it's on the employer's responsibility to audit the state. So on average, you're going to see here what the state overpayment rates are. Um, Again, California, you'll see there it's a 9% overpayment rate. You're going to see in Delaware, it's a 26% overpayment rate. Why that's a challenge for employers is the state makes lots of errors when it pays out benefits. It may pay Cruz. She may have qualified for $300 a week. It erroneously may pay her $400 a week. And then if the state pays out that additional $100 a week for 26 weeks, it's an additional $2,600 that's charged to your account. And why that's so dangerous for employers is if you don't catch it, the state doesn't give you the money back. And if you do catch it, they don't give it back to you in form of cash. They apply it to future credits. So that goes back towards that challenge of being a reimbursing employer because the internal audits. You have to audit everything the state does when it comes to paying out unemployment to ensure that the overpayment rates are. What's concerning about these overpayment rates, you'll see some are low and some are higher. This is during all-time lows in unemployment. The unemployment rates are low, and we're still seeing the states overpay claimants to this date. During the recession, this goes the Great Recession, you saw this number double digits for every state, in some states hitting 30% to 40% overpayment rates. So as we see the economy change a little bit and unemployment climb, you're going to see these overpayment rates increase on each individual state. As I mentioned earlier, you're seeing benefits increase. As you'll see here, Illinois maximum benefit range increased from 593 to 808 to 605 to 826 for files claimed after January 1st, 25. The same thing happened in Ohio. And then the taxable wage base is increasing. And why that impacts employers within the tax system, it just means that you're paying more on your tax rate. And on the reimburser, you see that you have to start budgeting for higher benefits. You're going to start to see these dollars potentially increase across all states as the legislation coming out of DC and impacting states. You're seeing Michigan's not on here as well, but that is another state that saw their maximum benefit rates go from $364, and they passed legislation to trigger it up to over $600. So as states start increasing benefits, it adds to the challenges facing employers because employees or former employees will qualify for higher benefit amounts. All right. Oh, and then Louisiana there, you'll see there is added weeks going to fixed, decreased. They decreased from 26 weeks to where they have a tiered week. Now, this changed there, but it could potentially change back to a standard 26 weeks because we saw states that did tiering increase from their tiered weeks up to the standard 26. In Michigan, they went from a standard 20 weeks back to 26 weeks. And then in North Carolina, there is pending legislation that is awaiting the governor's signature that will go back from the 14 weeks to the 26 weeks and increase benefits there. So as some states go down, some states might increase, and there had been pending legislation, but we have to see what happens out of DC to make it standardized 26 weeks across the country again. And then workforce compliance for multiple states. So what Cruz will address this, or I'm sorry, as she mentioned, it's important to address this. Some states have different rules for applying it. So if you have employees in multiple states, it's important to know that you do need to register your accounts, SUI accounts for your employee to receive unemployments. Not all states require that you register an account. until you have 4 or more employees. Some states like California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, if you have one remote employee, you're required to create an SUI account, state ID account, and register your organization and that employee for unemployment benefits. If you don't register that where the employees or state ID, those employees, if you have one employee in one of the states that has 4 or fewer, and you don't register an account, if you do let that employee go, if they file for unemployment in that state, they won't be able to file for unemployment and receive unemployment benefits. So that's why important for your organization to register if you want your employees to have the same benefits as your state that you're domiciled in.
And we did highlight, like for example, Kentucky's bordered by, I think, 7 other states. So it's very easy for an employee to cross state lines, sometimes without even notifying an employer about that. So just want to highlight that. We did highlight different state agencies based on the registration list, but if there are any state-specific information that we've gone over throughout the presentation that you want to know more about in your specific state, just reach out. We'll share our contact information here at the end. All right, so with that, I will get into the different program offerings that we provide at First Nonprofit that can help reduce unemployment tax costs if your organization is currently paying the unemployment tax. And if your organization is reimbursing or self-insuring, programs can reduce some of that risks that's associated with that and eliminate some of those overpayments and auditing procedures. But this highlights our 3 main programs at First Nonprofit. Our first program, the Unemployment Savings Program, is a member-owned interest-bearing reserve account that your organization owns. And in the event that your organization was to leave the program, you would take back that positive balance in your reserve account. So Marshall talked about, if you're paying the unemployment tax, you have this reserve with the state that your organization doesn't own. So what we do with the Unemployment Savings Program is set you up with an account that you would deposit money regularly, earn interest on, and we would only pay out unemployment claims to your former employees only. It does provide stop loss insurance coverage in the event that your organization does have to lay off numerous employees due to like a program closure, things like that. It also includes claims administration services. So if someone was to leave your organization, or you had to let go of someone and it was a claim that you want to protest, we partner you up with a claims administration team to assist you throughout that entire process. And that also includes auditing of those charges to every former employee, making sure that no one's collecting for longer than they should be, no one's collecting more than they should be. It also includes the HR platform access provided by Mineral that I'll go over in just a few seconds here. And in the event that you do need assistance with registering for an unemployment account for a remote employee, we do provide assistance with that as well. The bonded service program is also for organizations that are self-insuring or are looking to self-insure. Maybe they're tax paying now and are looking to see what that cost would be as a self-insured or reimbursable employer. The difference is that you're not depositing money into a reserve account. It's a full risk transfer. So for example, if the agreed upon term of the contract was $30,000 to cover your unemployment claims, that's the fixed cost. That's what you could budget out for the next year. And if you have claims over that $30,000, you're only responsible for that $30,000 with the bonded service program. So that's first and last dollar coverage. It includes the claims administration, the HR platform access, and the employee registration for remote employees. Now, if your organization is a tax-paying employer, maybe you're an organization that has, 3 or 5 employees, a smaller organization, chances are that tax paying is the best fit for your organization due to its size. What we do is provide all the benefits that come with membership in the bonded service and unemployment savings program, but you would still remain tax paying. So you still have access to the claims administration, HR portal, and assistance with remote employee registration. And then these next few slides go into some details about the services I mentioned on the previous slide. This is the claims administration services. So in the event that you do have to let go of someone, you can reach out to your claims administration team and get an estimate of what that potential claim will cost, whether it's due to a layoff or a furlough. And they'll also be keeping you up to date on any unemployment law changes. So, we talked about how weekly benefit increases happen regularly at state unemployment agencies. You'll get notifications letting you know when those changes are being made. But it covers the auditing of benefit charges. As I mentioned, it'll also detect fraud for fraudulent claims, and they'll also assist your team with ensuring that credits are received on your unemployment account for any claims that were, overpaid or anything that needs to be paid back. On the technical side of things, we do provide assistance in reviewing procedures and policies, maybe something within your handbook related to unemployment to make sure that you are winning unemployment claims. We do provide educational workshops for your supervisors and managers, again, to prep them for any hearings or anything throughout the process to win those claims. And you'll also be receiving claims reports on a regular basis, letting you know what the status of any claims are. And here is a freebie that we included that is provided through one of our claims administrators partners. For example, there's one here on the life of a claim and determining liability, or how to set up your organization for success and win a claim before it's even filed. So these are some webinars. So I believe there's Zoom trainings that you can take to give you an idea of the claims administration services that would be included with joining First Nonprofit. These are some quotes from some of our current First Nonprofit members about their experiences working with the hearing representatives. So your organization, if you do have to go into an unemployment hearing, not only would they prep, any witnesses and supervisors for the unemployment claim, but they're also going to be on the phone or on the Zoom with your team representing your organization as well. A little bit about the HR platform that we offer through our partner Mineral. So this is an HR platform that you can log into or you can call. In the event there is a workplace issue that you need advice on, you can reach live SPHR and PHR certified advisors to get that advice. If you have to leave a voicemail, they'll get back to you within one business day. The portal also provides hundreds of employee training courses that you can assign to your employees, covering things like safety, workplace harassment, prevention, professional development, a variety of courses. And I'd be happy to share the course catalog if you'd like. Just send me a note. You also have access for your HR staff with SHRM and HRCI recertification credits via webinars. And you'll also have the ability to build a living handbook that will be federally and state compliant. So you basically build your handbook on the platform. You can even import your existing handbook into the portal. And in the event that something changes at the local, state, federal level, maybe there's a change in the minimum wage, and that's something that you mentioned in your handbook, you'll get a notification saying, hey, it's time for you to update this page in your handbook so that it is up to date. We also provide several news alerts aside from those law alerts, anything having related to HR, and it's also an extensive resource library. So if you have questions about FMLA in your state, you log into the portal, just type in FMLA, and you'll get a variety of resources, webinars, checklists, several tools in there for you on all varieties of HR topics. And you'll also have access to salary comparison, a tool that is provided by salary.com, and a job description builder in case you need any help with the description of a new job, or you want to update an existing job description that you have at your organization. This is what the portal would look like when you log in. So I'm in Illinois. So when I log in, I get different notifications about new laws, recent laws that have passed in Illinois related to HR. And this is just the dollar value of FNP program benefits. This isn't what we would be charging you, but just giving you an example of how quickly accessing some of these benefits, how quickly all of those benefits add up as a savings to your organization. So for example, if you were to reach out to your hearing representative, or they help you with a case, you're saving $225 by being a member of First Nonprofit and utilizing that service.
And if I may
So,
add, real quick, Cruz, it is a wonderful tool. I work with a client that has utilized an excess of 100,000 in employee trainings in the last year.
and how FNP helps, we would be happy to do a cost evaluation for your organization. If you are currently paying the unemployment tax and you want to take a look at reimbursing and utilizing First Nonprofit services, we would do an apples to apples comparison. So we would show you, okay, this is what you would pay in 2026 unemployment costs, and this is what you would pay First Nonprofit. And if we can't help save you any money, the evaluation will show us that, and we will let you know, tax paying is the best fit. And if you still want to take advantage of, the First Nonprofit services, maybe FNP Access would be the best fit for your organization. So we would do rate projections for your organization as well. So we were able to do that apples to apples comparison. And as I mentioned, the remote employee compliance, determining liability, processing that paperwork is something that would be included with your membership with First Nonprofit. So if you are interested in receiving a savings evaluation, I'm going to drop the savings evaluation request link in the chat box here. You will receive the evaluation within 8 to 10 business days of a complete submission. And as part of being a member of Vision Serve Alliance, you will also be receiving a discount on enrollment fees for your organization. And I think that's up to a cost of $1,125. All right. And with that, here's our contact information for Marshall and myself. And I'll be dropping that chat, the link in the chat box. Anything else you want to mention before we log off here, Marshall?
Sure. I would also say if you're a reimbursing employer and have a bit of uncertainty with the challenges coming out of DC related to funding, potential funding cuts or layoffs or anything along those lines, you can also reach out to us and we can help you assess what the risk profile looks for in the upcoming year, 6 months to a year, to help you assess if it's beneficial to have a layer of coverage.
And thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Vision Serve Alliance, for having us today. I dropped the savings evaluation link in the chat.
Great webinar, really informative, and everybody has the opportunity to unmute at this point. If you have a question and you'd like to just unmute yourself, we have a few minutes here and we'll allow you to do that. Okay, well, nobody's speaking up, so that's okay. We have Cruz and Marshall's contacts. I don't know if anybody wants to reach out to either one of them. is there one of you that's better than the other for folks to reach out to? Who do you prefer?
They can reach out to Marshall, and I'll drop Marshall's information too in the
Oh,
chat
great.
box just in case. Yeah.
Great. So you have Marshall's direct contact information. If you have additional questions, and again, you'll receive the link to that the savings evaluation form. You just fill out that form. It's worth exploring, right? To see if First Nonprofit can save your organization thousands of dollars in money in these tax savings. Like I said at the beginning of this webinar, a lot of our members have saved a lot of money by working with First Nonprofit. So we really appreciate their expertise in this area, and thank them for being here to share tips on the changes that are coming down the pike. I did not know that about remote workers, that you had to register in every state for all of your workers. That would be 3 states for us.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that's a lot of paperwork, and things can change, depending on your what headquarters your organization is located in. But that's something that we'd be happy to help with. Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Marshall and Cruz. Always good to have you. And thank you all for joining us today. Have a great rest of your week.